comments. They have that public hearing, and so people can hold their comments until you open the public hearing on here and receive public comments on those items. So you can clarify, and then you just know that there's that public hearing and open it up. And
That was loud. Is it? Louder than the other one.
Okay, just go ahead and use it when Kelly was here. He used to tell the people, if somebody wants to do the same subject, we won't let you speak. Time limit, and if you're getting out of hand, we'll shut you down. Stuff like that.
Yeah, you want me to announce that?
Yeah, when we get to it, do that. Still got a couple of minutes.
I didn't see it.
That barbecue place right next to Peachtree. Never been there. That's a good place.
Yeah, Doug.
Yeah.
Really good, isn't it?
I went over there only because Willie went over there last night. We thought you were going to join us
You didn't invite me.
and maybe have a sandwich over at Peachtree, but it was closed, so we just figured, well, maybe next time.
Thank you. Can I give that to you?
That fine line.
It is. It is so temperamental.
Yeah.
This yes, and this is no.
Well, this is the voters. There's precinct two, there's like two but this is the number of voters in the precinct. This is the number that actually voted. This is kind of, this is like precincts. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, but do we know what percentage was yes or no?
It's right there. I think yes. That's kind of lengthy, so I didn't the effort on that.
Good morning, folks.
Good morning. Morning.
Welcome to our Commissioners' Work Session. We will try to briefly glide through the agenda as much as we can. Our agenda is quite packed, so please put your phones on vibrate or turn them off or whatever you need to do with them. Just set them aside so we can get on with our meeting. We have 8 items on the work session, and then on with our regular agenda. We have quite a few. When we adopt the agenda, 2 commissioners can make a motion to deal with the issues that needs to be dealt with as soon as possible. That can be done to modify the agenda according to the Robert Rules of Order. Other than that, welcome, and we will proceed. And I will be leaving probably at 12. I have a group of people from Canada to meeting with the chapter back home, so I'm gonna be meeting with some Canadians, and I don't know what they're about or what they're there for, but I will soon find out. And we have a Navajo Government Development Commission meeting tomorrow, and there will be part of it. So with that, thank you very much, and let's try to be courteous and try not to punch each other in the eyes or poke each other in the eyes, and work this through. So thank you very much. We will proceed. The Spanish Valley Planning Audience, Mark,
Yes.
with the landmark. Could we have a chair up here, please? Yeah, bring that up. Thank you, sir.
We have what we call residential flex. It's a transition zone between the residential to the east and to the highway commercial to the west. So it's making, again, that idea of transitions. Business flex, it also requires transitions between the residential in the PC zone, but it also gives a lot of flexibility for business development and getting jobs, sort of a job base for the valley. We then had what we call highway flex on the west side. It's almost all Sitla land. This is also that there'd be highway commercial type uses, but there would be some flexibility to accommodate some special type of residential or other uses that might fit in with the area. And then we had the highway commercial. So you can see the highway commercial is not 1,000 feet everywhere. It's responding to what's on the site, what's there today, and trying to provide some opportunity, but at the same time acknowledge the uses that are already there. The water efficient landscape requirements cover the whole area. Outdoor lighting, so this is the dark sky ordinance, covers the whole area. Sign and display requirements, this was not part of what we were looking at originally, but there were some people that wanted us to address it. So we proposed a code for the entire area. And then, because we were told to look at what was happening in Moab and Grant County, they've had huge issues with all the overnight accommodation, hotels, motels, those sorts of things. And they basically as you probably know, put on a stop to that. They said there's no more of that going to be allowed for now until they can figure out how to allow it. And so what we've developed here is a code that those types of uses will be permitted, but they will be required to go through this overlay process to ensure that what you get, what the community gets here, is more than just a whole bunch of hotels and motels and campgrounds that don't provide anything for the community. It will require them to provide extra things such as housing for their employees, or for a cafe or a restaurant, the things that aren't there, that when you see a hotel motel, it's usually just for the users of that space. So we presented that to the Planning Commission, and this again is what we proposed. What they told us to take a look at was this, and as you can see that these two lines right here, that's the 1,000-foot commercial zone right now. Mm-hmm. And so what you can see is they've expanded they're recommending that, or this was their original recommendation, this has been modified, that they expand that even further beyond 1,000 feet into the district, and then that we convert the highway flex on that north part into just standard highway commercial. And a member of the Planning Commission went out and spoke to all the property owners. So he told me and asked them what they wanted, and they said that they wanted, if they had highway commercial at the present, that most of them said they wanted that still. And the reason it got expanded even further out is, even if they had a small corner of their property that touched that 1,000-foot line, they thought it was fair that the entire lot then would be commercial. So what it's done, is sort of expanded the commercial potential expansion to the east. That's the main change that happened. The other things that they proposed, the text changes, was that they wanted to delete all text indicating that only one truck stop is permitted along Highway 191. That's what we've, in order to deal with that sort of Loves issue, that was one of the things we were recommending. They wanted to delete all text requiring existing outdoor lighting to meet the lighting requirements. In other words, lighting that is there now doesn't have to change, which can impact the dark sky. They wanted to remove the text that requires your staff to go out and do inspections on lighting. And then they wanted to delete all text requiring a 50-foot no-build buffer around Pat Creek and other tributaries. On the map, they wanted those changes I just explained to you, and then change it to the highway flex zone. So we came back and said, well, this is a different direction of what we thought, but if you're going to have highway commercial expand out there, let's make it like the flex zone so that there's a transition between those residential uses. It's going to require, then we don't get the love situation, right? Then we don't get a residence right next door to a commercial use. And I wasn't able to go to their meeting a few days ago, but that apparently was rejected, that idea. And so they actually expanded the commercial on the north end a little bit more than what they previously proposed, particularly on the very far north end. And then they have quite a few other changes. So you can see and the other change that came up, we found out that in a recent legislative session, for key gravel operations, those sorts of things that are important for construction, that the state has said we can't change zoning on those. And so we're leaving them as the agricultural zone as they are now. That's for the gravel pit, for the asphalt operation. That's a state requirement. The other, let's see, other key changes is that was to do all those things that they recommended previously, the buffers and that sort of thing. They said they wanted that, and in addition, chapter by chapter, for the first 5 chapters, the residential, the planned community, and the flex districts, they wanted it. There were no additional changes. But for chapter 6, which is the highway commercial, they didn't like the idea of having an overlay that for hotels and motels that you had to go through extra steps to make sure that it fit in, apparently. And so what they wanted is to add those uses back in, and if they're under a 40,000 square feet of building or 10 acres, it was a permitted use, and then if it was larger than that, it would be a conditional use. In addition, they wanted to add drive-ins and drive-throughs as permitted uses, not conditional uses, and they wanted to change the language about truck stops, striking some language that was basically saying that there would only be one more allowed along the highway. In chapter 7, water efficient, they accepted it. It's the original that we have proposed. They're proposing that for adoption. Sign illumination, so the dark sky, those changes that were mentioned about not requiring existing owners of the lights to have to change their lights within 5 years, they wanted to keep that in there. And then for the signage requirements, they wanted the entire ordinance to be stricken, and the same for the overnight accommodations overlay. So you can see on the next one, basically what they're recommending is 8 chapters with significant text changes and map changes. But they, in the last 2 ordinances, they want stricken. So that's sort of the story. I wanted to just tell the story of what's happened over the last 4 months, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have them.
Any questions, commissioners?
But on the list of ordinances, Mark, that we have before us,
Right.
there's A through J, which is 10.
Yep.
So are we eliminating
It must be I and J.
I and J?
It must be. It's the yeah.
I mean that's
Oh,
what
you want me to take a look?
that's
at
what the
this?
planning commission wants to eliminate is I and J, right?
That's
Yes, that's
Yeah,
correct.
The
Mhm.
Spanish Valley sign display requirement and the overnight accommodations.
The overlay zone.
Okay.
What does the planning commission want to do?
They want to eliminate those last 2 ordinances, I and J.
They're all overstricken in the handout.
Yeah, the Spanish
Do that.
Valley sign and display requirements. And the Spanish Valley overnight accommodations overlay. They're recommending that we eliminate those 2 ordinances altogether.
Who recommends that?
This planning and zoning commission. but they basically accept everything else with some changes. They're recommending some changes. Is that right, Mark? Well, actually,
Yeah,
the
but there's
first
pretty
five,
significant
there's no,
changes, some of them though.
the first five, there's no changes, right?
No, that's not correct.
Okay.
The first 5 have that buffer removed. They had 2 meetings. The first meeting, they had 4 changes, if I go back to them. They wanted to delete all text indicating only one truck stop, delete all text requiring existing outdoor lighting to meet, to be retrofitted within 5 years. They didn't want to have your inspectors do light inspections, and then they didn't want any buffers around natural streams. Those will be changes to those ordinances.
Okay.
So those are the
Do you know, I'm just guessing, I haven't talked to anybody, but maybe Kendall can actually tell us on the ordinance that only, says there will only be one truck stop in the valley. Are they wanting to eliminate that because of competition?
I wasn't at the meeting, but I would.
Can you make an ordinance where only one business can exist in an area?
I mean, one of the issues that you would probably have here anyway is that a lot of that, there's a big chunk of that that's Sitland property anyway, that they don't necessarily have to comply with the plan, what the planning commission or the county commission does for planning and zoning. So they could be exempt from that anyway, so they could put in as many as they want. But as far as limiting it to one, I don't know.
As long as you, state code is as long as you provide an opportunity for uses,
every
that
use.
you're generally okay.
I don't think you're gonna get into like a county created monopoly or something like that.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, is state law provide for, I mean, if Monticello wanted only one motel in Monticello, could they pass an ordinance saying there'll only be one motel in Monticello? How would they eliminate any competition?
So I don't think that's the issue here, because you are so close to so many gas stations as well.
Okay.
You know, if you're in Monticello, the next one is Landing, and so you might get into an issue there of creating a.
But this is not a problem then.
I don't see it as a huge problem.
Okay, all right.
If we go to the other 5 chapters, so the highway commercial, the main change there is they're basically saying we want to allow hotels, motels, B&Bs, lodges, resorts, commercial campgrounds to go anywhere in that zone that they want to go.
But they have to be within the commercial zone.
Right, and what
They
we
can't-
were recommending was that there be an overlay, that you go through additional review, the public has the opportunity to weigh in and review and see if this is gonna provide something of the character and quality that you want for this area. So that I think what it is Moab and Grand County are really struggling right now with what they've created. And this is trying to avoid creating something that's out of control. It's not prohibiting it. It's saying that you have to go through some hoops and hurdles. You have to provide some additional amenities and things that benefit the community, and that ensure that we're going to get something more out of this, because this could be a lot better than Moab. I think that's what a lot of people are thinking. And so we've learned a lesson from what they've done. They just went through this gut-wrenching process to, the community was at odds with each other, and we were right in the middle of it because we ran that process as well. And so, and the argument I think could be made that this is going to slow down growth, slow down interest in the area. You don't have very many of these things right now, so why worry about it? That's the argument on the other side. So short-term economic development goals versus long-term.
I think there's one other argument, and I'm not trying to make a judgment at this point.
Right.
But generally, I'm a rancher, and in my life, every layer of purview that the federal government puts on me to operate my cattle business I usually don't like it. I don't like government. I mean, they've got to be in the process up to some point, but every other layer you put on that makes me Mother May I government, I kind of don't like that. And most of the people that are in that type of business, as I talk to them, they don't like it either. So I'm just wondering if there's an argument that says, if you're gonna put another layer on that requires people, and we're talking only about the commercial zone right now, right?
Right along the highway.
If you're talking about people that are in
Eight-
business
8 and 9.
and they see another layer of government oversight
Right.
to their business,
It's two.
that,
I think there's one other motivation, and this was, it's related back to the original moratorium language that said, you know, look at this and think regionally about what's happening in Moab and Grand County.
This is
And
what
one of the
they-
things that
they
Grand County
recommend.
and Moab were worried about is they put all these controls on, and then all of this hotel motel business moves to here, and they're still gonna get the cross-through traffic going back and forth through town, right? So if you're thinking regionally, then it's probably good to think, to operate in similar ways and not in competition, but maybe in a concerted effort to what's best for this area to develop in the right direction. But then again, if you're not thinking that way, we looked at the moratorium language very carefully. We read it and reread it many times to make sure that we weren't making stands one way or the other, and it was very clear. One of the arguments was, think about what's happening there and make sure that what you propose here and what comes through here is responding to that.
where did you get the moratorium language?
It's an ordinance that was given to us by you.
I don't know originally where it came from. I wasn't here at that time, but it was an ordinance that was enacted by the commission here.
Okay. So which ordinances, were there any ordinances that the planning and zoning accepted fairly outright?
Again, I think the water efficient landscape requirements.
Okay,
and
the water efficient one,
Mhm.
so
And-
that's G, that was okay.
Right, and then the first five were, with the exception of they have this buffer removed. And then the eight, and then eight, eight was some changes to the night sky, the dark sky ordinance. We basically had prepared a quite simpler version of it when we did our original ordinances. We did ordinances about a year ago, and they never got adopted. We were told to, again, take a look at what Grand County and Moab had done, and we basically took that ordinance and just adopted it, or applied it to here, made some adjustments. And it's a lot more extensive than what we had proposed originally, but the things that the planning commission didn't like was the fact that existing lighting in the area has to be retrofitted within 5 years.
They
That was-
accepted the dark sky,
They accepted the whole
but
ordinance with that
they
exception.
grandfathered in all of the lighting that is there now.
Exactly.
That's what it amounts to, right?
Right.
Okay.
And then also they removed the inspection, so if you don't inspect it, it's probably not gonna happen, right? So, or it could be argued. And then the number 9 and 10 was just, because they've permitted those hotels and motels, you don't need number 10, or J, I guess, the last one. And the signage, they just felt went way too far, and it's already controlled by signage ordinances, which I'm not aware of very much.
So what was the basic difference between the existing sign ordinance and the one that you were proposing?
That's much more extensive as far as requiring
Expensive?
controls.
Extensive.
Yeah, you can do, you have to put a lot more design effort into it and make sure that it fits in with the way that things are looking. It also aligns with the lighting ordinance so that you don't have these super bright lights all over the place, so that it controls
So
it.
you mean somebody can't just go buy a piece of plywood and get some paint and put up a sign?
No.
Unbelievable.
Paid for sale.
That would be inexpensive.
That would be expensive.
Again, it's a difference, if you want this to be a different type of area,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
And I took more than my fair share of time, sorry.
Thanks for
All
answering those
right, next
questions.
item would be county seat. Oh,
Public hearing.
that's a great idea.
Well, no, not until the commission meeting. And so
No
this is just the
public
work, not in the work session. In the commission meeting, we'll have a public hearing for these ordinances, and so you'll be able to hear. And that's something to note. You do have citizen comment on number 2, but number 3 item is the public hearing. And so you can take citizen comments prior to it. They don't have to be in relation to
Oh, right.
actual Spanish Valley hearings, but
Right.
that third, then you can have the public, you do have to have by law a public hearing on these
Right.
anyways, and so it opens up to that. So I do want to be clear that there will be 2 opportunities, but we also recommend due to time that you don't give the same public comments that you're going to give in the public hearing, and so kind of only one time. But that'll come later, like you mentioned. The next one would be the
Yeah,
counties.
we don't do anything on our work session, so, next item, number 2. Chad?
Commissioners, thank you for taking a little bit of time for us to answer some questions about County Seat. County Seat is a program that has been broadcasting for 9 years, representing as an advocate for counties across the state of Utah, and I believe of those 9 years, San Juan County has participated in 7 of them. It's possibly 8. Our program works by being open to counties to bring up topics that need to be communicated outwardly. And that's the important part of the program that I think can be misunderstood, is that the real value of this program is to take concerns and issues that the counties have, or San Juan County would have, and communicate them outwardly across the state to the Wasatch Front, where most of the legislators are, to the regulatory offices, the administrative offices of the governor, the lieutenant governor, the BLM. All these are audiences, are a part of our audience, and they regularly watch the program. So this is a place where a long conversation about a single topic can go on. As a matter of fact, there's no longer conversation that exists out there. If you were to transcribe our half-hour program and turn it into a newspaper article, it would be 6 pages long. If you were to take one of our half hours and convert it to talk radio formats, that would be 5 of them. If you were to turn it into news stories, it would be almost 20 television news stories and probably close to 30 social media posts. So it gives an opportunity for long-form discussions, and it's an opportunity for the counties, for you as commissioners, the attorneys, the assessors, the auditors, to bring up issues that need to be discussed, particularly those that are not clearly understood about where counties' positions are, and have an opportunity to discuss them in a forum. Both Commissioner Adams and Commissioner Maryboy have been on the program in the past and had an opportunity to talk about things. How we usually work this is that we send out an email on a weekly basis that updates the counties on topics that have been suggested to us. And there may be an issue that's happening in Garfield County that may be of interest to San Juan County, and you have a point of view on that. And that's an opportunity for the county to contact us and say, we would like to be part of that discussion, or we would at least like to have some of our concerns expressed via questions, and we would allow that opportunity. That's how the program works. Obviously, we are more sensitive to to counties that support the program more. So Commissioner Gray Eyes had requested some information, and I think we sent some to you about the program and some samples, but our currency in this program is commercials, and I just thought I would show you what we currently are running for San Juan County, and I just want to make sure I unmute this and tune it up all the way. And I'm getting no audio from it. Great test. This is basically a great pitch for coming to explore San Juan County, and these run, in your case, they've run about 3/4 of the weeks that we have had shows inviting people to explore Moab Canyon country. We develop these commercials in conjunction with your tourism bureau, and you can either provide them to us or you can ask us to produce them for you, which we have done in the past, and I just don't know why I did not get volume off of that, but and it may just be because of this contraption. I also brought video, but if I'm not getting audio out of it, I'm not sure how much that will help. About a let's see. This is a recent program that Commissioner Maryboy was involved in with our program. Let me just open this up, see if it decides to play audio. Okay. Sorry about that. I'll send them to you again in a file so you can look at them in detail, so you can get a visual idea of what exactly happens. As far as the cost goes, I know one of our staff members had had a conversation with Commissioner Gray Eyes at UAC, who was somewhat concerned about the cost of the program as far as its reach. But if you were to look at our annual or our weekly audience, we make nearly 1 million impressions, and we have an average audience of about 84,000 people per week across the state. And these are the kinds of people that show up at these kinds of meetings. They're people who are disengaged completely from government, who find no interest in this program. And if we made the program so they were interested, we wouldn't be able to seriously discuss any issues. So we've tried to focus this on communicating with the people that are engaged in the governmental process so that you can get clear and accurate information out. It basically is less than about a penny per exposure. I think it's about 0.8 of 1 penny per message reached each week. And if you apply that to your commercials or to the conversations, that provides an opportunity for your county's official position to be heard during the year. At that, I would just like to answer any questions that you might have about your continued support of the program.
Commissioners, Bruce?
Yeah, I think some of the questions that some of our staff had when we discussed this a little bit with budget is, what other forms of media other than television and YouTube do you have access to run the programs? And Mac, do you remember the names of those other forms of media that we talked about?
One specifically that is a big one that's up and coming for marketing and tourism marketing is Hulu. Any internet based organization, Amazon, Netflix, Hulu is one of them that we use a lot for marketing. And so I think that a lot of it evolved around where you're starting to have these generations come up behind us that are less in front of the TV, that they're more on the internet, more kind of point of origin, which was more of your internet, your clicks, your Facebook, Instagrams, things like that. What are you changing from your model where it was primarily commercial and TV, branching out into more of your internet mediums?
So to explain exactly where our position is, we take our broadcast, which is a long-form broadcast, which is not completely suitable to the viewing habits of social media, but we put the entire program out on Instagram, on Facebook, and then we do post it on YouTube. From YouTube, it immediately becomes public domain. You are free as a county to take the entire program or download portions of it and repost it any way that you like. In addition to that, we take smaller excerpts of it and make smaller posts that we put out in social media either in the week leading up to the program or after, and those are also available for you to pick up and share. We use basically YouTube as a repository, so it's a place that your county can go and either link to or completely download the video. You, in your agreement with us, you have complete and total right to use that video. So you could literally download it, you could edit down to the portion that was of interest to your county, and you could put your own explanation with it and say this was an excerpt from the recent county seat show, and this is how San Juan County feels about it. And that's totally within your ability to do. And we can even help you do that. To address Hulu and some of the other services that are provided like that, there's Vudu and Hulu and several of them, for us to get our program on to those markets, and it's our long program that's really of the value, not so much the commercials, and your tourism is going to buy some of the commercial availability made through the network. And we have to buy a channel or buy a place in a channel, which would increase our costs. We have redistributed our program to cable access. We put it everywhere that we can without increasing our costs on social media. And we have also offered it to other TV stations. Currently, we have 3 TV stations in the state that carry our program. ABC4, which is a big one, KTTA, which is in Monroe, and then I forget their call letters, but it's Channel 19 out of Ogden rebroadcasts our program as well. And then Carbon Emery, Vernal TV, and South Central, all on their cable systems rerun. In fact, they run it practically every day, just because there's new programming every week, and we tell them you can run it as often as you like. The audience that we have is probably bigger than the one that I quoted, because there's no way to capture who's watching those. But they are available, and we're more than happy to help provide streams that are available to us into social media if there's something we're missing. I do have a full-time social media director, and that's her job, is to take information from the show and parse it and put it out into the different networks. I don't know if that answers your question, Mac.
Absolutely, yeah. That's where that discussion had led.
Yeah.
I was just wondering what your efforts were.
I will add one point. We looked at turning this program over to Channel 4 to produce, to see if there were some efficiencies that could happen from a TV station that already has large staffs to absorb it. So we sent them a profile of what it takes to produce one episode of our show, and their cost to produce came back at $36,000 per half hour, which would have been $463 per quarter, nearly $2 million a year without airtime. We are producing and broadcasting and distributing ours for just a little under $14,000 a week. So if there's a value statement that has to be considered, that is one that should be considered. Any questions?
Willie? No, just kidding. Any more, Bruce? Well, I appreciate that, Chad.
I'm more than happy to take these other samples of videos. I'll have Derek send them to you directly so that you can look at them at your leisure.
Okay.
Which is one point that I might point out. Our other program, At Your Leisure, does promote tourism. I did have a section from an episode that we recently aired out in Monument Valley. We went out with Roy Black, and we did some rafting, and we also did some horseback ride through Monument Valley, and we broadcast that program across the state of Utah on the Altitude Sports Network out of Denver, which includes New Mexico, Denver, parts of Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, Wyoming, and parts of Montana and parts of Idaho. And we also are on the air on a broadcast station in San Francisco and Los Angeles. It's not a big one, but they're a big market, and they have a lot of homes. So we estimate that between all those broadcasts, our recreation show, which also could benefit San Juan County, reaches nearly 400,000 people a week. So
Well, that's really good. You know, I've always felt that the program like yours and also the newspapers, you know, to me, those are great tools for people. And as you understand right now, San Juan County has been through a lot.
yes, you have.
Not only the recent election, but you know, the monument itself. And there was one time that I reached out to talk about the monument, and I think Derek or somebody turned me down, that they didn't want to proceed in doing an interview. It will be a bias, is what I heard. And to me, I think it should be a healing point as a media to contact both sides and drive to where it would best fit the community or the people. And at times when the counties reached out to me to talk about the Red Rock bill,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I always took a position. What would the Native American say? We haven't interviewed or we haven't met with the Native American on developing on the public lands with the Red Rock bill. And that's always been my position. And right now there's issues going on. As you can see, we have a whole slew of residents from Spanish Valley in the county here. And both sides has concerns. And the people, they just want to be treated like a people. And here we are as a county. And what can the media do to intervene? And instead of putting more fuel to the fire, how can we replenish this and also to do away with the fire and have people live like the way they should be? And I think that's where the media should be. And I appreciate you coming by and giving us a detail. And I'm willing to work with you in the best way that I can, as long as we work with people and do what we can.
So, in response to your conversation, at the point that you reached out to us, we had already done, I believe, 3 programs on the monument, and we were representing in those shows the official position of the current commission. You're now a different commission, and you have a different perspective and a different point of view, and our commitment, as always on the county seat, has been to reflect the position of the counties whenever they engage with us. And so, you know, we are always willing to work to get that message out. And sometimes there are conflicts. You may have an issue with Kane County, and they sit on one side of the issue, and you sit on the other. And this is a perfect forum for, as was the case in Spanish Valley, to have a broad conversation with multiple points of view in a civilized discussion. And so we're very open to that, and we look for that. Summit County.
The last time we visit the governor, me and Willie, we sat down very calmly, and everything going great. And he says, I'm willing to work and help you guys the best way that I can. Yes. So we sat down, and he says, there's too many things going on in the county. You need to do away with the squiggly lines, and you need to do away with the redistricting, everything. Then we'll talk. As a governor, you don't say that. I mean, you might as well tell the 2 commissioners that they don't want to help and just get out of the building. And, you know, stuff like that. Maybe where can the media or the outside can say, hey, you know, this is another county government, and you are the government, you're the state, so it doesn't matter what position they have on their stance, how can we work together? See, stuff like that, to me, it's really
The
disturbing.
county seat has produced shows in our 9 years that have challenged the position of the administration and represented the county's points of view. And I think some of them have affected change in the governor's position on different things or his administration. That is certainly within the purview of your support of the county seat. We are your advocates as a county, as we are to all counties that are participating with us. And you know, Carbon County has one thing to promote on energy, and Summit County has another, and we have done both of theirs, and they're both very pleased with the participation that they've had. So,
I appreciate that, Chad.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the time.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure to talk with you, and that looked like a fun ride. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Item number 3, Blufftown update. Blufftown Council.
Good morning, I'm Jim Sayers, representing the Blufftown Council. Thank you for your time this morning, Commissioners, really appreciate that. Before I say anything, I want to also thank Mr. Nielsen for the contribution he made to the elections in Bluff, getting those elections done. Thank you very much. I won by a substantial margin, so I'm pretty appreciative of that. We were put on the agenda, or we had ourselves put on the agenda, asked to be put on the agenda about 10 days ago or so, and it was in response to our efforts to implement a interlocal agreement between Bluff Council and the county. And since that time, we have been very encouraged by County Manager McDonald's approach, and we are moving forward. We're particularly interested in making sure that the building permitting process in Bluff is intact and includes the input from the Bluff Planning and Zoning and Bluff Council. So as of right now, we're moving forward. Our attorney has been in communication with Mr. McDonald. Thank you very much. And we are seeing some of our goals being reached. So really, I just wanted to update that. We're working with Mr. McDonald very effectively, and we've got some building permits, I think, that are coming in, and Scott Burton has been in contact also with our attorney. I want to thank him, and with the council as well. So beyond that, if you have any questions about what's up in Bluff, let me know, or let somebody know, but that's about all I needed to report. I should also thank Mr. Adams, Commissioner Adams, for your work on the CIB. We're trying to move forward on that too. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioners, any question?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Okay. Mark McDonald,
Okay.
number 4.
Yeah, let's see. So, in today's commission meeting, you'll have a contract for your approval. This contract here is for it's titled the San Juan Predation Management Plan. This is with the State of Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, and in addition to this contract is an MOU from the USDA for predator damage management. What this is, and I believe we've participated in this in the past, it's kind of a matching program where the USDA, their wildlife service program, provides 50% of the cost, and the county provides the other matching 50%, $6,000 in total, for that predator control. So this kind of helps, especially where you have predominantly, a large amount of agricultural down here. This helps control those predators for $3,000. It's something that's well worth the money, especially when you talk to ranchers. Obviously you guys have all, pretty skilled at this with the sheep and things like that. That predator control is pretty critical to some of the livelihoods around here. So this $3,000 is what this is, and then like I mentioned, it's matched with the USDA funds as well in here. So it's that participation agreement. They do all the work for us. If we don't participate in this, then what that does is it beefs up that service to other counties, and so it's something that we want to have. I would recommend having take place here. It's something that's important to our citizens, especially those ranchers that are throughout the county. So this kind of helps them with that effort. So you'll see that in today's commission meeting. I don't know if you guys have any questions.
We still have people out hunting coyotes?
You do. So yeah, you'll still have people out kind of on their own that will hunt coyotes. That's something that continues to be encouraged by DWR. So there still is that need, and just having been down here a month and a half, there's a lot of coyotes that I've seen just as we travel back and forth.
So that's on our agenda.
It will be on your agenda this afternoon.
Okay.
I have a question.
Bruce?
This is what we've referred to in the past as the coyote bounty, and it has been $5,000. I thought, and they've lowered it to
$3,000 is our cost.
Okay.
Its total is
I
$6,000.
think they did that in response to my request to put a bounty on prairie dogs of 25 cents a dog. Have they included that in
There's
there?
there's no prairie dog.
There's no prairie
There's
dog
no
bounty?
bounty. There should be, but there's not.
Did you know that the Shoshones, they tried that?
And?
And the state responded that these are endangered species.
Well, we want them to shoot the non-endangered ones. The ones that are out in the hayfields and on the farm ground and tearing up equipment and
Trip up your
stuff.
horse.
Would
yeah.
you contact them and see if they would reconsider the prairie dog bounty?
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk to. I talk to Kelly. Kelly.
That'd be interesting.
Kelly.
Try.
Kelly's in charge now, and he's got some ties to us. and
Hey,
so,
that's right, call Kelly.
yeah. Say,
tell
hey,
him we want a bounty
prairie
on
dog.
Non-endangered prairie dogs.
Non-endangered, absolutely. It's all the white ones.
That's good. That's good. Okay, next one. Item number 5. Public Works purchase of bottom dump trailer. Clark Hawkins.
Good morning, Commissioners. And Mac and I haven't been properly introduced, so I'm going to let him know. I'm Clark Hawkins, the North District Foreman for San Juan County Road Department. And I'm here with a couple of procurement requests. The first one is number 5, the belly dump, bottom dump trailer. We did receive one bid in our bid request for them from Bruckner's Truck and Trailer Sales out of Farmington, New Mexico. That bid came in under what we had anticipated and had in our budget for 2019. And so we're requesting approval for that.
This is one of those semi-belly dumps. Right?
Belly dump, yes, correct. We have had 3 in the North District and 3 in the South District in our fleet. We have several of them that are put in their time and about to cost significant amounts of money to make repairs to. So we actually did surplus one of our belly dumps this year. We wanted to wait to procure this new one until after we had that surplus, is why it's later in the year for us doing that. But we have sold that on the state surplus. And are now requesting to be able to purchase this one to replace it.
Okay. What do you plan on doing with the old one?
It has been surplused already.
Oh, okay.
We sold
So,
it.
do you know how much that's sold for?
I believe it was $8,000.
Okay.
If it's still here, we would have auctioned it off to the,
To the public?
yeah, to the public here. Any questions, Commissioner?
Yeah, this is kind of unrelated, but we're anticipating some moisture tonight in the next few days.
We sure hope
Are you
so.
gonna be able to take care of some roads that have washboarding? I've been getting a dozen calls a week on different roads, and I know
Yes.
that it's hard to do it without
Yeah, but
water, but
the
boy.
problem we have without the moisture is you go in there and cut the tips off of them and you bring the ditches in and cover that up, and it lasts about 2 weeks, and then it actually is worse than it was before because you've broken the hard pan on the tops of them. And yeah, some of the roads that I know that you've been contacted about have not only been held off for that reason, but because the individuals that take care of them districts have been involved down in Montezuma Canyon. I'm not sure if you're aware, we've had some sinkholes open up this year in Montezuma Canyon that were big enough to drive your pickup and gooseneck trailer into. And they were actually busting through. We had one of our trucks actually break through one of them that we didn't know existed. It seemed like every time we get one done and think we're done, we find that our equipment's come through and opened some more up. But we thought we were down there for a 2 or 3 week process, and we've been down there 2.5 months. Some major sinkholes.
well, I know you know the individual I'm talking about, and it's impacted his bottom line on his business, getting hay in and out of his yard and stuff because the road's so rough he can't use it anymore, so.
And I am aware of that, but in my opinion, the priority has been not losing somebody into a sinkhole and having a county liability there, and we do have a plan in place to get that taken care of, and hopefully we'll get that rain, because that'll be just perfect timing for when this will
Can
be
you share that
addressed.
plan with me?
David Unido is one of the South District blade operators that has been up in assisting us with this, and as he moves out of the Montezuma Canyon area, he's going to go ahead and take care of that section through there and up onto Bug Point as he moves back into his district. And I made that
idea?
individual aware of that and kind of gave him a timeline, and then like I said, we found more and more sinkholes, so it's kind of put that timeline off. So I understand his urgency and need there, but I have to prioritize the safety of the public there also.
Did you have to use your entire crew in Montezuma Canyon?
No, I had 2 individuals down there.
Okay.
One of
when
my
did
blade
they-
operators and one of Todd's blade operators, which left 4 blade operators up here taking care of the entire North County, and 4 down there taking care of the entire south end of the county. And
I'm getting a lot of calls from the north end of the county, so, oh, I don't know what the answer
I
is.
actually, well, on that one in the north end of the county that I believe you're talking about, I actually signed a encroachment permit for that individual yesterday, so that he can take and go in there and actually do some repair work on that D road on his own. He's got that permit and the permission to proceed there within our
What's our
disturbance.
agreement with Grand County on the Hoorah Pass area?
Nothing,
They don't do any work for us?
not on Hoorah.
We do
They-
all of it there.
Yes. They have some stuff on Geyser Pass and on the LaSalle Loop, but nothing over on Hoorah.
Last year, talking to Kelly, before he left, he and Benny had a plan for making repairs on the Hoorah Pass Road, but
Which we did complete that this spring, and that held clear through almost the entire summer. But there again, without the moisture to keep that tied in, it has unraveled at this point. I wish that individual would have got his propane truck and stuff in there earlier in the year when that was repaired, but yeah, it has come up back apart. But I did sign an encroachment permit for
so
him to go in,
he's
and
gonna,
I believe he's gonna start next Wednesday. He's gonna run a dozer in there and make some repairs there. That was the benefit that we had for making the designation change in that road is it would allow them as owners down there to get an encroachment permit and then make some repairs as they see
So
necessary.
we don't have any plans to do any repair of any of the roads in Spanish Valley that we've been putting sewer and water in until spring, right?
That's not completely correct. We are going to go ahead and rotomill everything that's there and put a brine on there. We'll shape it and then put a brine on it to help hold it together. That's not ideal, but it's at least going to be better than what they've got right now. And then this spring, when the oil becomes available again, that's been our issue, is that the oil manufacturers have shut
Right.
down our supply. So
We'll repave all of the paved roads.
yes,
That we
well,
tore up.
in fact, there will be roads that were gravel before that will have a double chip seal on
Right.
them also.
That'll take care of dust and
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
other things. So we double chip seal the gravel roads that we tore up. We'll pave the paved roads that we tore up.
Well, there will be 2 of the paved roads that will receive an asphalt mat. The rest of them will also be double chip sealed. That was the concession that we made to be able to double chip seal the gravel roads, is because then we can, with our same budget, accomplish all of that.
But every road that we damage down there will receive some kind of a new surface.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Well, the next item's yours.
Okay, yes, the next item is a 8,500 gallon or 8,400 gallon hot oil tank that we did not have in our initial 2019 budget, but with some of the things that we've had come in that were under budget, we do have the money budgeted that we can purchase this. This is a used hot oil tanker that we will mobilize on site when we do chip seal projects. And what this will allow us to do is, right now when we have a vendor bring our oil into our projects, they give us 2 hours for which we can unload that product before they start charging us a standby fee that they call a demurrage fee. And with us having just the one distributor, it is very, very seldom that we're able to get that taken care of without being charged that demurrage charge. We had 2 chip seal projects just this year, and the demurrage charges that we received from them 2 projects was $3,481.25. So the cost of this used tanker that will allow them to come in and offload to that tanker and then be gone, and we can continue to use the product as we had throughout the day and eliminate these demurrage charges, we would have paid for a third of that tank just in the projects this year. So I would
What's the
like,
price again?
the price on that's $12,000, and the demurrage charges that we received on just the 2 projects we did this year was $3,481. So I would like to be able to purchase that, and within the next few years it will have paid for itself and be saving us money, and we try to do that everywhere we can.
And we'll use that product all over the county,
Yes,
not just in the North District.
right. This will be countywide for all the chip projects that we do.
Right. One other thing I forgot to ask you about road work.
Oh,
There's a section from the end of the road we were talking back that goes down to the paved road down towards Hatch Trading Post.
yes.
That's on the reservation. Have we got any agreement to
There is
do anything there, or
There's
is
not
there
an agreement in
any-
place for us to do anything. I know that BIA addressed that road once this year is all.
That's it,
But,
yeah.
But
But
there's
it's
not an
back.
agreement.
Yeah.
There's not an
Really bad.
agreement on there. The agreements that they have made with us have more specifically been addressing like bus routes and things like that. And this is a tourist or the trucks coming into that particular individual's outfit.
Would you care if Kenneth drove the grader and fixed that road for us?
Was he driving the hot plant?
Well,
Shoveling the hat.
do we have a waiver that he signs so that we don't assume any liability for pipelines or?
Kenneth will sign it. Right,
Rose
Willie?
is willing to sign it, so let's do it.
Okay.
Willie wants to drive a grader out at Navajo Mountain.
Remind Ben on the center lines from Radford all the way to Red Mesa, from Red Mesa to 191. Not too long ago, there was a center line truck down in Bluff, Cow Canyon. And I believe I've texted Mac that there was a center line truck and we need the center line. Is there any way that can happen soon? Because folks out there are still asking to have that center line. There's no center line. You can't even see, especially in the evening. You can't see the road. It blends right in with the dirt, and some of the elderly was shooting off the road because there's no center line.
I will pass that information on to him. I actually will be meeting with him and the Forest Service this afternoon. We're doing a walkthrough on the Geyser Pass Road improvements.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Good information.
Do you need? Do we get approval here and a signature on these, and then a ratification?
It
in
has to
Sign
be,
it.
it has to be during the regular meeting.
Okay. All
Will
right.
be recognized during the regular meeting under the agenda, so
Okay. All right. Thank you for your time, and I'll leave these with Matt.
thank you very much. Spanish Valley update, Jerry McNeely.
Jerry's not here today. He called me
Jerry's
last night.
jumping up and down.
He's meeting with Forest Service.
He's actually going to be at that same meeting that.
Yeah, on the Geyser Pass Road.
Okay, Jerry McNeely, no show. Public lands update, Nick Sandberg. First call, Nick Sandberg.
Mac, you want to see if he's, or somebody?
Second call, Nick Sandberg.
There he is. He's coming. He's watching it on TV, probably.
All right.
You're up.
Yes, sir.
Like on
We just got
third call. He was about ready to call it.
Claim your animal and a buck and shoot number one.
Okay, where's that 8? Let's see, just a couple of things, update you. On the forest plan, you know, we'd originally been told they were gonna have a public comment period this fall. They've slowed down that process quite a bit, and they don't expect to have, well, basically, I think they're waiting on the Washington office to give some comments on their draft plan and their plan for scoping. And they would be publishing a notice of intent to begin scoping. And that won't happen probably till after the first of the year. So they don't expect to have a public comment period until February or early March of next year on that. One part of that public comment would be to hold some public meetings in the various places. And you know, they've generally held meetings in Monticello. I can't remember if they've held any in Blanding or not. But they would like to have a better coverage of the county with those public meetings. So they'd like to hear from us as to where the commission would like some of those public meetings to be held next year, February or March. So I don't expect an answer today, but maybe just be thinking about that, and I'll get back with you at a later time to get some.
How many public hearings are we talking about?
They don't have a set amount. Basically, you know, I'd say we're probably going to have at least 2, maybe 3 or 4. We could suggest those to them, and then they could determine if they need to cut some or some aren't possible or whatnot. So if you could be thinking about that, that would be good.
Okay.
And then just an update on some of the grazing situations in the county, at least from the Monticello field office. Generally, forage conditions are pretty good, although storms hit and miss like they usually do. So forage is pretty good in most areas, but water availability, particularly stock ponds, most are dry. So they anticipate water hauling will be needed on some allotments. And I did hear from one of the range conservationists here in Monticello that most of the permittees are turning out about 50 to 70% of their active use. And that's not because of forage conditions, but it's because they had sold down their herds due to drought conditions in the past and haven't built back up yet. So that's basically the story on livestock grazing on the BLM permits in the county that's coming up. And of course, activation, some permittees are probably already on allotments, others will be going in the next few weeks for winter, spring use. So that's really all I had for you this morning, unless you have any questions for me.
You know, the public hearing part, when do you need to know where and when?
They didn't give me a date, but I'd say if we could get something to them, we got another commission meeting coming up in early December. If we could have something by then,
Okay.
then I'll get back with them early December, and that should give them plenty of time to make plans on that.
I like the plan. Any question, Bruce?
No.
All right.
Okay, well, thank
very
you.
much. Folks, we are 10:15. So our regular meeting starts at 11. So in the meanwhile, I guess go visit the little boys and little girls room.
Mac, is there any items that we could take care of
Yeah.
prior to 11 o'clock, or do we have to wait?
You would have to wait till the
I know we do
commission
on the
meeting is
public
done.
hearing, but
Where it was noticed and itemized on the agenda to take place after 11,
Okay.
there's really no way that you could take care of those before. I wish you could.
all right.
Good.
Just get them to John David and John David files and then they get into them. So, there you go. Yep. Absolutely. Thanks.
Somebody lost their bump drive, huh?